Hey everyone, my name is Jordan. Welcome back to another Flesh and Bones video. And today I have a special guest with me. Is it from Dex and Draught? Is that the way to say it? Or Drought?
Drafts.
Drafts? Sorry. Dex and Drafts. God, look at that. I'm already getting it wrong.
It's a European thing. That's
Dex
how they do it.
and beer. There we go.
There we go. Perfect. Cards and beer.
Yeah,
Like
and this is Joey. And Joey, I met recently on the Canadian Community Discord channel that I'm a part of. And I'm not Canadian, but I spend a lot of time in that Discord. I have a lot of other content creators who are friends and fellow Fab players that are friends. And he sent this link out to everyone for this PDF he created that is a learn to play event kit. And when I saw that, I was like, wait until you guys see this. I mean, not only is it incredible graphic design, I mean, your skills are awesome with graphic design, but it's going to be a really helpful thing for people that are new to the game. It's going to be my go-to guide to tell people, hey, this is what you need to look at if you're interested in playing the game. And we'll go through that in a little bit. But Joey, if you'd like to talk about what you're doing here and what got you into Fab, maybe some of your TCG history, that would be awesome.
Yeah, heck yeah. So so I'm Joey, doing decks and drafts. Like I said, it's the European way of spelling it, which is why it's goofy. Because I couldn't do it the other way. I couldn't do decks and DRAFTS because draft in card gaming land means something completely different.
You're right.
What I wanted to do. And I also couldn't do cards and craft. I thought about doing cards and craft.
Sure.
For craft beer, but you can't do that either because then you get like into the sewing groups. And I wish I were kidding, but I have a friend who's a part of one. So
that's so funny though. That's why, like, Bronson has drinking with Bronson when he does his little special chats. And I think that's like awesome because he has that background set up with the Arcane Rising, the pits area where it shows like the tavern in the background. Like, that was perfect. That was really inventive of him.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, it's a good name too. There's no getting around what the hell that is.
Oh yeah, no, you know right away, yeah.
So Decks and Drafts actually started as a card gaming night I used to do. I live out in Colorado. And what I would do is on Tuesday nights, we would go to a brewery and just bring whatever card game you had.
Yeah.
And we would just drink beer and play games. And now I'm trying to do that on my channel. It's turned into a little bit of box opening because I just fell in love with Flesh and Blood. I got in it in, I want to say January.
Okay,
I'm new.
Me too. I started in, it was like right after Christmas, like a week after Christmas, I bought a box of Crew. They were like $120 and I didn't want to spend that, but I bought it. And now I'm like, well, I got like $2,000 worth of cards out of that one box. And now it's just like, why didn't I buy more? But you know,
I bought 6 packs of Crew and a box of Arcane Rising.
Gotcha.
Just on a whim. And in those 6, I got a Spoils of War foil that I flipped for a box. I also snagged a Crewneck and a Skeletta.
Nice.
6 freaking packs. So I was pretty stoked about that. But anyway, awesome. Kind of got into it out of my own like internal subconscious pressure because I was thinking about it for like a couple months prior, and it was the secondary market that just turned me off.
Yeah.
To the game, which I think it turns a lot of people off to the game when they see it. And I've that's kind of why I did this, was to be like, you can get it cheap. You can get in cheaply. By the way, for everybody watching, this is when I do this is pointing to the second monitor where I have the thing up. So.
That's okay. I'm Italian. I talk with my hands too. I get it.
There we go. So I finally decided, you know what, screw it. The game looks like a hell of a lot of fun. I found a couple places. Granted, it was in Wyoming and Colorado Springs. That is an hour and a half and 2.5 hours from where I currently am. But I was like, screw it. I liked the idea of getting on something on the ground floor.
Yes.
That's really what did it for me.
Yes.
The other game I play kind of religiously is Final Fantasy, the Final Fantasy card game. I think it is a brilliant goddamn card game. But they've just made so many mistakes as far as marketing that it's hard to find a community. It's hard to get one off the ground. Sure. And they're on set 13 coming out. Not Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah.
Set number 13 coming out on April 30th, the same day as Monarch.
Money.
But we're going to let that go. But yeah, I mean, on top of that, you know, one of the issues with Final Fantasy is that there's no real chase. There's not as much value. That has changed recently, courtesy of COVID, because everything happened. But
sure, yeah.
That excitement of that ground floor of seeing new things and kind of everybody learns together.
Oh, which is what's great. I mean, that's
yeah.
I've said this a million times, and it's going to be a repeat for everyone who watches my videos, but I've been playing Magic for 25 years, and I've been in since like around beta unlimited. And it's yeah, that being on the ground floor of that as a kid, I didn't realize how big it was going to be, and look at it now, you know. So
Yeah. And it wasn't really a FOMO thing for me. Though I mean the investment stuff is attractive.
sure, sure.
Especially when you pull like, you know, a Krunic and you start seeing how much that is. But it wasn't really the investment. It really was kind of learning the game and seeing it grow. The last card game I played was Android Netrunner from Fantasy Flight.
Oh yeah, I've
I
heard
get
of
in
that one.
right when that started.
Yeah.
So it was really fun with that LCG model of seeing like the meta change and seeing everybody evolve. And I had such a blast. Can't do it with Final Fantasy. I actually played Magic during Alpha, but I
Nice.
lived on the Bible Belt.
Gotcha. So that was like no.
No.
Yeah. That's
They
funny.
did something really cool. So I was in like 5th grade, 4th grade. I don't remember exactly what grade I was in, but we did something called a hobby day at our school where a bunch of different people came out and said, hey, let us share a hobby with you, because we were kids, so you're still learning that.
Yeah.
And somebody from Wizards came out and gave us a whole bunch of starter decks and
Wow,
said, hey,
really?
we're gonna
That's so
teach you this
cool.
card game. And yeah, I was a nut for it.
Yeah.
So I started collecting, and then yeah, my parents saw the black cards, and I grew up real Christian, so I still vividly remember sitting in our big Econoline van, staring at these cards at my godfather's house, and I was tasked with throwing them in the dumpster right outside the van.
Demonic Tutor, Demonic Hordes, Unholy Strength with the pentagram in the background.
Yep.
Then you go into the dark and you're talking Witch Hunter and a million other different Preacher. Preacher is like the most probably that one would really offend people. So
I think Terror, wasn't it Terror? I'm trying to remember the one that had like the little like the gangly fetus thing.
Yep.
Oh, and that was the end of that. So after and I didn't know any better. I was just sad to get rid of this thing I was enjoying playing.
Sure.
But shortly after that, Decipher comes out with a Star Wars card game. So I got myself pretty heavily into Star Wars CCG. I actually still have it. I still have a ton of it. That blew up over COVID as well, actually. So you can play it for free. It's actually still going, believe it or not.
That's awesome.
So when Decipher lost the license to Wizards of the Coast, they said, you know, we still love this game. So what we're going to do is we're going to hand everything off to what they created a players committee. So they handed every single one of their design plans for the movies that they knew were coming out, which was only episode 2 at the time. They said, go play. And they started making virtual sets. So they actually just released virtual set 14. Somebody actually made a virtual set designed purely for pod racing.
Well, that's what's cool about some of these games that are, you know, only online or only, you know, they switch from cards to electronic base, because there's an opportunity for a lot more people, especially during COVID here, to play online with others. So it's smart for some of these card games that are struggling physically to jump online for sure.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a lot of fun. So, but yeah, I did that, and that was my first introduction to jank. I'm naturally janky. I
was always that way in Magic too. Yeah.
So for me, my my jank in Star Wars was I had a Cantina band deck.
Oh, that's
purely
awesome.
Cantina band. Musicians went and wrecked face.
That's awesome.
It sort of worked. Then they came out with something that actually just destroyed them all in one hit. I was like,
you know, that makes me. I wanted to mention something about the Final Fantasy game. You were saying that it was kind of like a niche thing that, you know, people liked, but it didn't really take off. And it kind of reminds me of the Final Fantasy games, like the community. I played 11 and then I played 14. And then when 14 re-released, I played that too. And a lot of people around those games, it was like that community that was originally there kept playing it. And there weren't many new people. And the new people would come in and play for like a little bit. And then they would be like, yeah, this isn't really for me. And they'd go back to Warcraft. And with Final Fantasy, it's always been like that little niche community, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool and it's not. It's the reason that card games like Final Fantasy can't take off. It's the reason that anytime you have a license, it lasts for a time and then it goes away.
Sure.
Not even Wizards can crack this code.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because really the reason that you get away with this, especially with Final Fantasy, is because you can get away with this in Japan, but you can't get away with it elsewhere.
Yeah, you're right.
There's a loyalty to IP that you can just show it and the masses will flock, and it's so ingrained in it that everybody kind of wants to be a part of that. in the States, even in Europe, you have too many of those competing for each other. So you don't just get to see Star Wars anymore. You don't even get to just see. Yeah, I mean, we'll go with Star Wars. You don't get to see Star Wars, and everyone flocks to Star Wars because there's too much of a divide now.
And that's the thing that can really, I don't know, that divide. You're right. It can really, you get these people in. Oh, my buddy's gonna play. We're gonna start playing it together. It's gonna be great. And then your buddy's like, yeah, this was fun for a little bit, but the whole Final Fantasy thing's wearing off on me. I don't really feel like doing it anymore.
Yeah, and they add the mobiles, they're adding the gotchas, they're adding stuff that even me who grew up with, FF2, FF3 when it was FF4 and FF6.
Sure.
Even me who grew up with it's looking at it's like, I don't care about half of these things. And it's going to be the thing that screws over Magic, courtesy of Daddy Hasbro, that wants to license the crap out of their stuff too.
Well, I was just talking to the guy I was just talking to before I spoke with you, Dat Geeky guy. He's another content creator, and we were talking about that too, and the things Hasbro and Wizards has been doing wrong. And one of the things that's controversial that a lot of people, even in that community, have disagreed with is, they're really wanting to make everything equal with sex and ethnicity, and that's great. Like, diversity is great, but diversity for diversity's sake, just to try to sell your products and to not develop character stories, but to say like, hey, press release, this new set has a trans character. It's like,
we got a black one, you guys.
Yeah, it's like, why do we need, like, all that stuff has been in Magic, regardless of what people think, for years, and characters have developed naturally. And now it seems like they're forcing that to make money because they see, like everyone does, that it's a hot topic where you can make money. And my problem with that is people in that community are really irritated by that as well.
And they should be.
And they should be, because it is a disgusting way of trying to sell something, and that turned me off to Magic. That is the main thing that turned me off to Magic recently. And Flesh and Blood just feels like, hey, this game's for everyone to be played in the flesh and blood. We don't care who you are. We don't care anything about you. We want you to come and play with groups of people and have fun. And they're not focusing on the other stuff that doesn't need to be focused on because it's always been a part of life. So by making it look like it's not normal is a terrible disservice, in my opinion.
Yeah, and actually one of the things that I really liked about Netrunner as they started building it is they started doing that kind of stuff of just like, you feed in a trans character, you feed in someone who I think they had someone who was just straight up androgynous. There was very much a sexuality thing for them.
Sure.
And you didn't, like, the question wasn't like, when are they going to do this? Is that like, chaos theory, this little kid is like, wait, are her parents a gay couple?
Sure.
They're in the background, and you don't notice this.
Yeah.
And there's like, yeah. Shut up.
Because it's fed in throughout the cards. It's like the Dark Souls games. Like, I love all the Dark Souls games. I'm a big From Software fan. The fun thing about those games is you are seeing things and trying to discover the background of those characters or those places. If they just came right out and they're like, guess what? This person's gay. You'd be like, well, what? I could have figured this out on my own if you would have led me to it. Like, why are you
change the story?
That's the thing. Why? What was the purpose of that other than to make it so it was in your face and now you know? Like, if you didn't know before, now you do. It's like, well, that's cool. just don't get that,
I mean, I've got myself a decade in marketing, and I see the ploy with that kind of stuff.
Sure.
It's something that that hits every generation, every cultural generation, every generational group is going to be drawn by whatever. If this were 40, 50 years ago, let's throw out whether or not you're gay, straight, what sexuality you are. Let's talk about whether or not you were in the army. Let's talk about your military past.
Yep.
And you're going to have the same thing. And even though that would have literally nothing to do with your story, you're going to get a whole lot of people in on that. It's the sign of the times.
Vietnam era,
it was leverage it.
It was hero or baby killer. I mean, you were one or the other. Right? If you were in the military, you were a hero or you were a baby killer. Yeah. So you're right. They're going to swing it whatever way they need to swing it to make money in that group or for that group. And we're still seeing that today, obviously. So.
Yeah, and I think that's why things like Flesh and Blood and Magic early just kind of exploded without the licensing stuff because I can get lost in that, and they're not playing by our rules over here.
Yes. Which is
And then
what Magic
second,
has lost. They have lost that, in my opinion. That fantasy world of you try to make it what you try to look at the cards and figure out what this is, rather than someone tell
yeah.
me, well, guess what? This character is this way because of this, and that's what it is now. And then those people who are marginalized will feel even more marginalized because you just pointed them out in the crowd. Like, that's so stupid.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Like, thanks, guys. I appreciate
Yeah.
everyone. Like, we were just playing. Like, don't point the spotlights on us.
I know.
We weren't asking for that.
Yep.
So yeah. So to bring it full circle, it's conversations like this that we would have over beer on decks and drafts.
For sure. Yeah.
And then yeah, it's to wrap all that up. I did play a little bit of Magic. I do it from time to time.
Cool.
So I usually just play on MTG Arena when I'm just bored.
Well, that's the thing. Most people do that anymore, anyways, because it's easier now. I don't have to really buy the cards on there. I can just play and have a few games if I want to, and that's that. I love the physical card game, but to me, unless it's Commander, Magic's dead for me. Unless it's Commander,
Fair enough. All right, I apologize. I'm gonna flicker my camera real quick.
No, you're cool, dude. And the one other game I wanted to bring up. I don't know.
On autofocus.
That's fine, man. One other thing I wanted to bring up too before we go on to your Learn to Play event kit that I want to talk about. Did you ever play the game Spellfire? Do you remember Spellfire when that came out in the 90s? So
No.
Spellfire came out. I think it was like. It might have even been before Magic. I don't remember. But it was right around the time of Magic, and it had some of the Forgotten Realms characters, like Dritz Duerden, and some of the bigger Forgotten Realms characters that now Wizards is going to be doing these Dungeons & Dragons sets, and they're going to be putting some of those characters in there. But Spellfire was another really cool game that could have taken off right alongside Magic, but they kind of followed that Final Fantasy thing where they relied too heavily on their IP and not developing their own thing. And I just had thought of that when you said that about Final Fantasy, because that game had been so big, and then all of a sudden it came full circle and like just was worth nothing. And the cards weren't worth anything. The sealed boxes were like $10 at card shows, I remember, and it just was a shame because it was so much fun.
I remember seeing like the dollar bins. Let's see, Vampire Masquerade did the same thing.
Yep.
Same problem. Legend of the Five Rings had it going for a little bit, but they're their own.
Yeah.
I think.
Wasn't there an early Star Trek TCG too that failed pretty early on? I remember a Star Trek.
Oh man, you want to talk about a card game that is worthless? The Star Trek CCG, and it's funny given that they both came from Decipher.
Yeah.
That Star Wars has just ramped up like crazy. Like the last set, our box is like $1,200. Getting a foil Emperor Palpatine, that's like $300.
Yeah.
You can get basically any set of Star Trek. You can still find them in shops, and they're like $15-$20. And nobody wants them.
And you know what? A lot of those card games too. I don't know about the Star Trek one, but if I remember right, a lot of them. It seems like any TCGs that have actual pictures from movies or episodes does terrible. If it has like real artwork, it does great. Or like even the Final Fantasy, even if it had like CGI artwork that was printed on there, that's better than just an actual person on a card.
So they're trying to fix that actually for Final Fantasy specifically. One of the biggest issues that they had was you would just get screen grabs. Sometimes it was from like a neat scene. Sometimes it was really just their sprite. The illustration of their sprite. And this is a Geomancer.
Sure.
What they've done in the last couple sets, they've actually done two very cool things. Now, all right, so actually the first one isn't recent. Every set for Final Fantasy, actually they cover about 4 to 6 games where they do original art. They actually hire it out. This is one of the neat things is that Final Fantasy is distributed by Square Enix. There's no middleman for this. So it's not like Wizard, they didn't license it out.
Yeah.
So they get to hire their own artists to kind of do their own work. So you get these gorgeous, absolutely beautiful new art purely for the game.
Yeah.
And nothing else. The second thing they started doing, though, is they started adding as part of their normal booster pack suite the chance of getting full art cards. So similar to, what any full art would do, where you kind of eliminate the text box down below and you do a full art. And these have kind of become your chase cards for the game. They've added a little bit of a chase factor finally. But there's this absolutely beautiful pieces of artwork. I'm going to see.
Well, and that's what's cool, because it's not like Amano or Tetsuya Nomura or bust. It's not like, it has to be those two artists or bust, Like you can actually have different artists other than the two most known popular Final Fantasy artists, so.
Actually, I'll just show you one of the sleeves
Oh
because
yeah, yeah.
I have it handy. So, all right. So, this is, fresh artwork built specifically for the game. These are
Oh,
sleeves. So this is
nice.
Ash.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
But yeah, so
great.
you can get her as a full art card.
Yeah, see, that's
She's
cool.
kind of, and they do a ton of, it's like 10 to 12 different ones of them. Like they recently did some for FF9. That's my Final
Yeah.
Fantasy of choice. But with it, you get these different card art styles. Sometimes you get this very minimalist. Sometimes you get that very Amano-esque
Sure.
look and stuff. Oh, that's really cool.
And that's what'll keep people playing the game too, is if the art changes as different sets are released, and it's not like, I mean, how many let's say you release like Vivi in 3 different sets and it's just a sprite of Vivi in every set. You'd be like, oh, I already have a Vivi. It just maybe this part of him changed in this new set. Who cares? Like, it's got to be new art. You got to have something new.
My whole thing is all flesh and blood right now. So I don't have any fantasy stuff.
No, that's cool though.
I'd have to go low. Well, I mean, because I've been building these intro decks, so
sure. Well, let's talk about that while you're on that now. I think we got about 10, 15 minutes left here. Let's talk about
I'm so sorry.
No, don't apologize. I've been enjoying the talk. I just want to make sure that we have some time to focus on this learn to play kit. So this learn to play kit, before I share it with everyone, do you want to kind of tell us what made you want to make this, and why it was something that you felt people needed to get their hands on?
Sure. So my background, outside of card gaming, the thing that pays for the card game, is training, marketing, which usually brings in things like project management.
Sure.
So the kind of the mixture of those three, and I also have a graphic design degree that I naturally don't use unless it's useful.
Me too. I only use it for this.
Yeah. Right. Thanks AI.
Yeah.
So, I'm a big fan of growing the game. As I mentioned before, an hour and a half north, 2.5 hours south. If I wanted to play this game, that sucks. That's just not fun.
Sure.
So I was like, all right, well, if I want to try to grow this community, which I do, I'm going to at least start with like the intro deck thing. That's a good, cheap way to go. Building the Paupers deck. That's a common solution. That's a pun.
Yeah. A good one.
So I figured that I'd start out making my own intro deck so I can show a couple other people. Then I decided to do this at scale and be like, all right, well, it'd be great if I can like take the 4 from Arcane Rising and just give them to LGSs.
Sure.
And I threw it on a Word doc just so I knew how to make them over and over.
Sure.
And then I saw people asking, like, hey, does anybody have any intro decks? Does anybody have any of these? Like, actually, I made a thing. I did a thing.
Let me show you.
And that kicked it off. And I didn't see as much of that as I expected to. I saw a hell of a lot of people coming in and saying, we're building our own bulk decks. We were just doing this to distribute the community. But nobody has actually been like, let me make a resource for anybody else who wants to do this.
Yeah.
Part of that is because it already exists. Let's be fair. Fab already made something similar to that. You can do that. You can just go to their site. The thing that I wanted to change up, though, that they didn't do, was scalability and accessibility.
Definitely.
They had accessibility basically covered because they did everything just from Arcane Rising, and then they trickled in, like, if you were doing Dash, here's some WTR cards, that'd be great. What they didn't cover, though, was scalability, and that's what I wanted to adjust. Scalability is basically the really just the ability to scale to bigger numbers without having your resources get depleted so quick because the numbers are so large.
Sure.
Perfect example. Let's say I want to do what's a great fucking card? Sigil of Solace. Here we go. I want to do a starter deck, and I want to build a bunch of them with Sigil of Solaces. I want to at least put one in for every deck. Now that's not too hard to do if I'm doing 8 to 12.
Sure.
100 to 200. 200 to 300, now we have problems.
Yeah.
Do this across all of the different heroes, it doesn't scale very well. With commons, you have similar things. If I want to do Razor Reflex, which is a fantastic attack reaction, putting that in both Ninja and Dorinthia means I've got to have double of those if I want to distribute. And other cards, I'm going to have 300-400 of those.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a problem. It's a problem for everybody who buys bulk. Like, hey, if you want to buy bulk for $80-$100, it was really easy to get your hands on. It still is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I gave my brother like 4,000 cards just because I was like, here, I don't want these.
Yeah, and it sucks for
Yeah.
those who would want to build those decks and say, hey, I'm going to have this big stack of stuff I'm never going to use, and I need to still go out and buy Razor Reflex or some sort of
Yeah.
common or pummel or whatnot. So I built these decks around that kind of scalable thing. I looked at each hero and I said, okay, what commons would work to make sure that every common was represented once, at least? Was it ideal for the deck? No, not particularly. They're not the greatest decks, but they're intro.
Sure.
So yeah, there are some cards you'd be like, why would you put this in a deck? Because it sort of fit, and I'm trying to introduce people, and I don't want to have to double up on something else that's hard to get.
No, and I think that that's cool. So while we're talking about it, let me see how this works. I want to share this with everyone. Let me see if I can share it so that you can see it as well.
If not, I printed it out,
which is even better. Yeah, let me see if we can. Yeah, so we can both see it up there if I do it like this. You can see that screen, right?
I can.
Okay, cool. So let me see.
Yeah, if you want to drop yourself down to like page 5, I think.
Yeah, I think
where it starts.
Oh yeah, there we go. Now is it? Are you seeing it full screen?
I am, yes.
Okay, so let me see if I can switch this. Little bit of technical issues here. Let me move this off this screen and make it bigger, and then we'll make this bigger, and then I should be able to just switch back and forth as long as I have this screen selected. Is it moving or no? No, it isn't.
It was moving for me.
Oh, it was on your side. You're seeing this back and forth right here?
Yeah.
Okay, on my side it wasn't. It just says your stream is still running, so it's pausing the preview on my side. But this is how I wanted it to look. So let me see if we make it full screen here. Do you still see it and it looks better now?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So yeah, so we'll go through and just talk about these pages individually. So there's Joey's name and his email. Where can they find this if they want a copy of this before we get going?
I don't have a great hosting site for that right now.
Okay.
So basically I'm going to be just throwing it in comments for every comment for on Decks and Drafts YouTube page.
Awesome.
For starters.
Or they can email you, I'm guessing?
What?
Can they email you, I'm guessing?
Please do.
Okay, cool. Great.
I have no problem with that. decksanddrafts@gmail.com. My YouTube channel will have this in the comments of every video I make from here on out. I'm trying to get this on like resource pages of like the Facebook Flesh and Blood groups, some of the Discord groups that have like resource sections.
Gotcha.
That's all I got right now.
Okay.
I didn't think that far about distribution.
Well, I'm going to move this over here so I make sure it captures the whole screen on my side too, and make it big here, and we'll see if this works. If not, I'll figure it out some other way. You're still good? You can still see it?
I can still see it.
Okay, sweet. So what I'm going to do, I just want to kind of talk about what I liked about this, and feel free to just interrupt me at any time if there's something you want to add. So Joey gives this, about this Learn to Play Kit page here, which basically, plugs his YouTube channel, tells you about the purpose of this guide, this Learn to Play Kit. He actually is putting like when it was last updated too, which is really cool because then people can see the different things that maybe he got feedback on or saw that he wanted to change just to make it better, so you could understand it. He's got the rules of the game, and the cool thing is he has these QR codes listed for the links to the official Flesh and Blood handbook and the Learn to Play video on YouTube, which is great. Flesh and Blood, in my opinion, LSS has great Flesh and Blood support for the game, but when I saw this, it felt like more of they make like quick guides for stuff, Joey, like here's a quick guide to get started on Zoom. I've done a bunch of them at the college I work at. It felt to me like you were making like a quick start guide. Am I right in saying that?
Essentially, yeah. I wanted to do that for the game, the rules of the game itself.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I'm doing next, and to bring Final Fantasy back into it. They have one of the best 1 to 2 page quick start guides I have ever seen in a game. It's small. There's no tiny text. We're getting into Yu-Gi-Oh territory here, but it's all there. It is so wonderfully laid out. That's a much bigger graphic design project.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, and I also like too that you have like on this page here, you have this make it official. Like you made this as if you work for LSS. I mean, you really did. You made this. You can tell you put your heart and soul in it. And I like that you're teaching people how to do the gem login because, like, I didn't really know about that when I did my first skirmish, and I'm glad someone told me about it, because I actually won a cold foil Kano, and I wouldn't have got it in the mail because at the time, I didn't know that I had to have a gem login and an address already set up on their website. So that was important. This learn to play bulk intro blitz decks thing. This is awesome. Now, you said these are decks that you made, right?
Yeah. So jump back up real quick.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I didn't actually know that they had a welcome event until about 3-4 days before I published this thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm doing my first. So I got a place in Aurora to sign on. So, but first off, the plan worked. By the way,
Yeah.
I sent intro decks down to this place in Aurora, still about an hour away, called Dueling Land, and we're doing our first Learn to Play event on Thursday.
That's great.
They're like, part of the reason I did this was also if I come in and buy bulk. One of the challenges for an LGS is that if I just get into a brand new game, I have to make an investment in that game for something I don't know if it's going to work.
Yep.
And if I run a Learn to Play event, I have to use my own stock to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm depleting my ability to sell packs and get people into it because I'm doing a Learn to Play for something that I don't even know if it's going to be successful.
Sure.
It's a perfect storm if I don't want to get into it. So that was kind of why I went the intro deck route as well. Of I can make these for cheap and bring them down, and you don't have to deplete any ounce of stock whatsoever. You just get to generate interest. And test this out.
And that's really smart. And what's funny is I have a LGS near me. I won't name names, but it's about the only one near me. And I actually asked them if they could get cases. I would secure the cases for them. Like I would buy them. Anything you can get, I will buy. I'll look into it. I never got a call back. I said I will bring commons, boxes and boxes of commons, and even some rares down. If you want me to make some decks, I can do that, but it's a great game. I think you should carry it. Nope, we're only interested in Magic and Pokemon. Okay, so what you're doing is smart.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't know this was a thing until Dueling Land told me it was a thing. But fun little side note on that for what you just said. I've actually been as part of Decks and Drafts. As I told you, I'm big into marketing. So I'm my niche here is kind of my marketing expertise.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to bring to the game a little bit. One of the things I'm doing in one of my future episodes is I'm actually going to I interviewed a bunch of LGS owners and asked, how do you move the needle for a new game? Sure. Not flesh and blood, just what is important to you? Do you need a certain number of people to come at you? What are the flags when you see a new game and people ask you for it? Like what worries you? So I'm putting together something on how to make that approach to an LGS outside of I'll just buy stuff if you buy it. I think there's better ways to do it. And I asked a bunch of LGSs. They gave me some really good ideas.
There definitely is. And that's what, that's what drew me to this was the way you went about, not only trying to get people involved in the game by showing, this page of Make It Official and Learn to Play, but you're also trying to get LGSs familiar with the game and trying to get their player base to maybe try something different. So these decks, you said you made these decks yourself.
Yep, I made those up myself. They're not stellar. I'm not going to say that I'm an expert at the game, but they do serve kind of the rules of one. If you are a hero, you only have cards in that set. That's an accessibility thing. I could say, man, I love Dorinthia. Cool. You only need to buy one box.
Yeah.
To recreate this.
Which these are great. I mean, you got them for the four main classes here, the Welcome to Wrath classes, and then you got Azalea, Dash, Kano, and Viserai as well. So it's not like any of these people want to make. They're going to be able to get their hands on these cards without having to have Crucible of War, which I'm sure once Unlimited comes out and Monarch Unlimited comes out, you'll probably update these.
We may. I haven't decided on Crucible of War yet. Just because from a what am I trying to do with this guide? This is to get LGSs going. This is to get a community built. I feel like Crucible's a little bit too much of a niche.
Sure. Well, I guess you could always do addendums to it too, like a more advanced version of this in the future that maybe shows some people what they could do if they were interested in one of those other classes. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you do with it in the future. And I'm just kind of flicking through forward here so we can see some of it. But like these, this part
I'm proud of these.
This part is great right here. When I saw this, I told you like right away. That was when I messaged you and I said we need to make a video because this. I mean, really not only great graphic design, but let me turn these sideways. I think it'll let me turn these sideways if I get out of here. Hold on a minute. We can.
Am I still on the screen?
You are. I just can't see you.
Oh, that's fine. So like they're printed little half page
Yeah,
things.
here, let me
You'll
shrink
see
you
it
down.
later.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's turn these sideways here, rotate clockwise, and then we're going to full screen again. There we go. So yeah, they are little half page quick guides on basically this is Azalea. This is what she does. Here are her strengths. Here are her weaknesses. This is the kind of play style.
Yeah.
And,
The
and just
motivation for this was really easy, actually. I showed somebody the game, and I kind of handed some decks off to him, and he came back to me with feedback saying this game's kind of boring. I don't understand. I didn't understand the strategic choices that were being made because it was I swing, he blocks with a card, he swings at me, and I block with a card, and then we go.
Yeah.
Because he was playing Azalea, which that's unfortunately, if you don't really know the tricks of Azalea, that's kind of all you do.
Yeah.
You hit once, and then you're
Yep.
done. You hit once.
Yep.
I was like, there has to be a way to introduce that. How exactly do you make a turn with her work? Because everybody's different. Like, Kano is the most boring hero imaginable if you play him the way you think you have to play the game.
Sure.
If you don't play him the way that Kano plays, he sucks.
Oh yeah.
But Kano has his tricks. So I came up with this kind of idea of like, hey, if you are like, man, I really want to be a wizard, I take a wizard deck, and then I'm going to take this little thing with it that says, hey, I'm going to have this sitting next to me for Kano, and I can kind of look at it and say, I was like, all right, Fire at Will, that talks about his effect. That's the middle, is what is their effect.
Yeah.
I've got this tips and tricks section that show me some cards I'm kind of looking for. Maybe if I don't know what hero I want to pick, I can just look through these, and that's what the play if you like section is up at the very top. Or if I want to quick glance, these things fan out nicely, which I kind of showed on the page before these. They fan out in such a way that, you just see the name and their play style and their complexity. So I can just look through and say, I like playing aggressive, and I want something that's a little more difficult. Cool, I'm going to grab this and go.
Yeah, it is a very, very good design in that way where you can quickly, I mean, they're designed like a TCG card in the way that you can quickly get all the information you need. And honestly, this is something I would, if you want to, depending on how far you want to take this, I would really think about contacting LSS with what you've created here, because it is very, very helpful for new players. And I think, just a few people I've talked about with this on the Discord are like, dude, that guy's incredible what he made here, what this is. And the bottom too, like perfect marketing. Add fuel to his fire with Pax of Arcane Rising. I mean, this would be something
so fucking hard to come up with, man.
Dude,
some of those were like I didn't know, like Viscerai was just like, what the hell do you do with that? Make more of a mark. It's kind of crap if you think about it. It's like,
no,
I honestly could do.
I think it's good. I think it is good, and I think it would be this is something that I could see, like you said, fanned out on a counter in a shop right next to the Flesh and Blood stuff, and saying, hey, this is what's available. These types of things that you've created right here that someone could print out at their store and give to people, like, oh, what type of game do you like to play? Oh, or what type of character do you like to play? I'd like to play a mage. Here you go. This is the mage from Flesh and Blood that exists right now. Take this page, learn all about the game.
So they can fan it like this on a table. I don't know if you can see, but yeah, I've got it in print.
Here, I'll shrink it down.
I would literally distribute it.
Here, hold on one
this
second.
way.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. So there you go. And the thing is, it doesn't take up a lot of space.
Yeah.
When you have it set up like that. So.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely perfect. And everyone's just able to look right at it quickly, and you can see everything on the side, all of the important information on the side that you need to see. I'm just going to flip through the rest of these quick. We got Bravo, we got Rhinar, this Ride the Wind, Don the Dawnblade. Like, everything you came up with it's really creative. It's incredibly well done, and I think that I think it's something LSS would want to get involved in and be able to, even if you gave them the idea for this and they ran with it, it would be great. And then I like here at the end, you have the shameless plugs that you can cut out and hand to people. And you know what? That is definitely not a shameless plug. It is you worked very, very hard to when you created all this, and your logo and everything is sweet, by the way. I really like that.
Thanks. I had a lot of fun with. It's been a while since I've gotten to have this kind of fun with a project.
Sure.
Like I love, like I stole, everything came from LSS. I was like, oh, you have these paper backgrounds that are gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's what the tan is. That's what the red is on the cover. So I was like, hey, thanks guys. But
Yeah.
I missed that kind of stuff. I really missed. I got to do it for Netrunner a little bit. I actually created my own tournament format for Netrunner, which was hilarious and amazing. And I like when a game lets me be creative and just gets me so excited to do that. So I do plan on. I want to take this as far as I can. I mean, I know that there are people who are putting this in the retailer group. Retailers really were the target audience.
And it's perfect for that. It really is. It is going to get people to carry it more, regardless of how much money you have in things. Regardless of what you can buy and open in these packs, that is going to be something that comes afterwards. Getting someone in with this type of design and the way you did it is the most important part. And once people see this and see how you designed it and go, oh yeah, this game looks sweet. It got me excited for the characters. It got me excited to make a Kano deck. All of those things definitely help the storefront realize the potential of the game. So
yeah, I definitely hope so. But yeah, if it gets into LSS, I know the retailer group is like as LSS Monitor or something like that. I might ping them. I'd like to see more of it, especially
you should
with Monarch. Since I know Monarch is kind of like the rest of the game, from what I understand it trying to be.
Yep.
It could get this real spicy and real fun. But yeah, to kind of wrap it up for things as well. This is a living document. I will find out some consistent place to host this. I have just no clue where right now.
Yeah.
But I do want, any sort of feedback. I have not actually played any Welcome to Wraith hero ever.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of it was just kind of me watching other people's games and kind of getting a feel for it when I did kind of some of my own play tests.
Gotcha.
Like, all right, let's try out what a Bravo does. It's like, here's what I learned. Here's what I figured out. So I'm all open to feedback. And hey, it'd be great if you did this, as long as you don't say your stuff sucks.
Your stuff sucks. You're terrible.
But yeah, I mean, that's why I do the kit updates as well. So I know, I mean, one of the things that came up yesterday was actually like, hey, you this is all great and all, but don't actually mention the difference between adult and hero and young hero.
Gotcha.
And your name suggests that they want the adult hero version, which are going to throw players off that think they do this 40 card deck with 40 life. It's like, I got to change that.
Gotcha.
I got to update that.
Well, and some people too, I don't know how LSS feels about this in the official rules, but like when I played in the skirmish, like, I forgot I had my, one of my cards was the adult hero version that I had out. My Bravo, and I was like, oh, I was supposed to have the young version. I forgot, but it didn't really matter because I just put the life total on the dice. So like they don't, I don't think it really matters as long as you're keeping track of your life total because it's the same card other than the life total. So so not a huge thing.
You have played long enough to recognize
that's why it's important that you make that change and that someone suggested that, which is great. And I wouldn't be afraid to contact LSS because not long after I got started, I contacted them for any kind of promotional materials they had laying around that they were just going to throw away or whatever they had. I messaged them and said, hey, I started the YouTube page. I'm getting a lot of views already. I really enjoy the game. I want to help spread the game. I'm not doing this for, this big financial benefit from YouTube.
Right.
I'm doing it because it's fun. I enjoy doing this and I have the skills to do it. I said, is there anything you could provide me with? Even if it was like just a little handbook or something you could send me, And they were like, well, we do send stuff out. We are a part of the community. We watch videos people create. Send us a link to your YouTube page, and we'll keep you on the list of, future updates if we have some promotional materials. And it was just my way of trying to get my foot in the door to say, hey, I'm making stuff for this game because I'm passionate about it. And I'm not picky. I'll take anything you have left over just to be able to say, hey, this is the new product that's out, guys. Check this out. Yeah. It's not for me to hoard or put in a collection or sell,
Would you do that through Facebook, like their Facebook Messenger? Or
no,
did they
there was
contact us on the page?
Contact on the official LSS page. There was like a media contact page or whatever. And I just contacted them and said who I was. And I didn't even think at the time. I was so passionate about writing the email to them about how great their card game was that I just said the name of my channel and didn't even put the link in there. So it was it was no like shameless plug at all. It was like me just trying to tell them, hey, I would love to try to help grow the community. What can I do, basically? And not, hey,
Yeah.
give me a free box of cards. It was like
Oh God, no.
anything you have laying around that you use as promotional materials, send to me and I will try to promote the game, you know?
Yeah, I would. I have no clue what I mean. I would say it's like, hey, I made a thing. I would love
Yes,
like some easier access. Like, if you want to mimic this and let's talk, I want easier access so way I could see it. Go on the Flesh and Blood page
sure.
and
And that's what would be
something like
great.
this is there.
That was my thought. If you could get it, because their handbook's great and all, but yours, the way you do yours is more of a get players excited rather than here are the basics of how to play the game. So, like I
Mhm.
said, that was to come full circle here. That was why I brought you on today. That was why I wanted to talk with you, was because I see you did something for the community that more people need to know about. So, if they
Thank
do
you.
want it, would it be best, you said, to either email you or look in the comments of your video to
Yeah, so like I said, I'm gonna put it in the comments of each of my videos, but
okay.
I'm not gonna force you to go, like, you have to go to my videos.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Viewing necessary. Dexanddrafts@gmail.com absolutely is a way to reach out to me. That's drafts, DRAUGHTS, the
Yes.
way that Europeans do it. Don't mess that up. Um and then yeah, I poke around the Facebook communities. Like I said, I'm actively trying to get them on resource lists. So hopefully you'll just see it naturally if you're looking for resources. And hey,
Sure.
you never know what LSS will do.
And not to put
It'd be
you on
kind of cool.
the spot, but do you mind sharing your Discord name if people wanted to reach you on there?
Yeah, so it's Funny Ways 3. I guess I give you the number, right?
Yeah, sure.
1158.
Okay. Yeah, cool. And that way
I
people,
don't do enough Discord.
I don't either. I'm pretty new to it, but that way people at least know if they want to try to search for you, they can find you. And he's a member of the Canadian Community Discord too, so
Yeah.
feel free to
Also
join
not
that if
Canadian.
you. Yeah, yeah, I know. There's so many people that aren't Canadian on there, which is great. I don't know. I've said this before. Like I'm part of the Fab community in the U.S. too, but the Canadian one just seems like more personable. There's a lot. Maybe it's just because I know those guys better, but it just seemed more like welcoming and down to earth when I first joined it. So I still dabble in the U.S. one from time to time, but all my friends from the U.S. one are in the Canadian one too. So I don't spend much
Yeah.
time in it. You know.
Yeah, I like the Canadian one a little bit more. I'm much more of a casual player.
Me too. Me too, for sure.
So it's easier because they just don't care as much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they don't care. It's that it's not
more
gonna
laid
wreck
back.
their day
Yeah, for sure.
if they lose something. So.
Well, Joey, thank you for being here. I do appreciate
Yeah.
it very much, sir. And I will have a link to for your page below. So please go make sure. I said this when I interviewed Dat Geeky Guy too. If you're interested in what he does, please subscribe. And I would think you'd feel the same way. If they're not interested, don't just subscribe to subscribe. We actually
don't.
we want to watch. We want people to subscribe that are going to watch and be part of the community. If you're just subscribing just because you're giving them a click to make them feel good, and then you're gonna unsubscribe the next week, that's no fun for anyone. So
Yeah,
please
so-
check out the videos. Let them run in the background if you have to.
Yeah.
And listen to Joey talk. So.
I'll tell you right now, I don't plan on doing any random giveaways or anything like that either. So
Yeah, you know,
I want people to like the content.
I did that stuff in the beginning to get the cards out there, and most of the people stuck around, but I did have some people that were like, screw you, I didn't win. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
so
that's no fun
yeah,
stuff.
what I tell people now is if you need some free cards, shoot me an email at fleshandbonesfab@gmail.com, and if I have some spare cards, I'll send you a stack of them. And most of the time, if it's a couple bucks to ship it, I haven't even charged people for it. So it's yeah, I mean, we're just trying to get the game out there. So anyways,
for sure. Hopefully later on that channel is going to be just me with like somebody like you, and we're just going to have a beer and we're going to play a game over Discord, and we're going to shoot the shit. And
that's
talk
great,
about
man. People love it. I'll
whatever.
tell you, that's what people like to watch is stuff like this. It's me personally too. It's a better situation to be talking with other community members. So
Heck yeah.
anyways, thanks for being here, and
thank you for having me.
For sure, we'll have to do this again, and especially when you get your stuff running up, we'll get some drinks.
I'm real close.
Yeah, dude. When you get it ready to roll, I'll come back if you have me. So
Cool. Oh heck yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Grab a beer, grab a drink. It doesn't have to be beer, but
sure,
it'd be neat.
that sounds great,
we'll
man.
go
I
from there.
appreciate it. Take care,
All right.
and I'll talk to you soon.
For sure. Cheers, mates.
Okay, man. Bye.